Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Current Mind with me, negotiable. So as you know, I've been MIA for a minute, but sometimes you just have to go quiet and reflect, especially when you're in such a season of change. And today's episode is a bit of a rant because I've been wrestling with a lot of personal revelations, frustrations, and growth. So buckle up because we're diving in. So, I never thought I'd be sitting here in my 20s and saying the words, finding myself again. It's wild how life works. I've spent the past year or maybe more going through the motions, playing roles that I didn't even realize I was taking on. Roles like homemaker, accountant, emotional caretaker, how it goes. You know how it goes, like when you're just sort of surviving, you're just kind of doing what you have to do. You fill in the gaps. You become what you need, what others need. You just do, if that makes sense. And sometimes when there are, no gaps within your life immediately, you just go and create them just to keep moving, just to feel like you're doing something. And I have quickly realized that that's the case for me, even though that there are situations both with work and personally where I've had to become something or something to someone or something, all of that. And so I've essentially been in survival mode for so long that I convinced myself and everyone else that I convinced myself that everyone else is in the same race. Everyone is tired. Everyone is doing everything. Everyone is scrambling. I genuinely thought everyone was scrambling, going hard, pushing to make things happen in their own lives. And for a while, I believed I had to keep up. But lately, I've been realizing something important, and that is not everyone is scrambling. Some people are just resting, and I can join them. So I've been reading Hebrews 4:11, chapter 4, verse 11 in the Bible, and it says, "Let us therefore make every effort to rest, or make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will perish by following their example of disobedience." Rest. What does that even mean when you've been running full speed for so long? In our women's Bible study group, there's a lady in there and a friend of mine who said, even God rested on the seventh day, so why can't I rest? And when she said that, I don't know, it just it flipped a switch in my brain, and it really made me question what is rest and what is work, and why have I sort of merged the two, and why am I so confused about what rest looks like? So, this week I had a personal moment this week and the past few weeks, I've had personal moments that sort of knocked the wind out of me. Panic, anger, doom, just kind of falling within me in that moment. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I spiraled. I replayed the situation or the situations in my head, and I just sort of sat there in a whirlwind of emotions. And then a dear friend of mine stepped in with some wisdom, and she was like, you have to make a decision, either to stay in the situation, walk away, or pivot, but you need to choose. And when you choose, you have to stick to it no matter what. God's got your back, and I've got your back. And that really hit me, because sometimes I am paralyzed by the idea of choosing right the first time. I think because that was something ingrained in me as a kid to just make good decisions, the first time, so that these and these things won't happen to you. So I've always clung on to the make the right decision. And when a big decision or how to handle a situation comes up, I'm so focused on making sure I'm right. Not right in an egotistical type of sense, but right in terms of self-protection. And so when she said that, especially the part where she said, God's got your back and I've got your back, it really hit. And I knew I needed to make a choice. And so I did. I chose myself, and it felt like this radical decision, right? It's crazy to say, yeah, I chose myself. And, it felt like it was wild. It was on the wild side. I don't know about you, but sometimes putting yourself first feels like an act of a defiance, especially when everyone around you expects you to pour into them. But this time, and a few times after all of this, I had to say no, and I said no. And the no's, and seeing how people react to the no's, especially here, it unpacked another mind or situation for myself where I said, I started thinking about, let's talk about culture for a minute, right? Specifically, the difference between the culture I was raised in and the culture I'm working in now. For those of you who might not know, I'm Nigerian-American, and working here in Nigeria has been a massive adjustment, not just professionally, but of course, personally as well. One thing I've learned is that people will test your boundaries, bro. Especially here, like and it may not be intentional, but it just feels, it doesn't feel good, right? So, and especially as a woman and a foreigner, it can feel like every line I draw is negotiable, right? So if I say no to a person, if I say no, people want to know how much further they can push, right? I can't even tell you how many times I've set a firm boundary only for it to be only to have it ignored or questioned. It's like the moment I say this is my line, someone immediately, it's like a signal, like someone is like, I need to cross it. And like, if you're here in Nigeria and you've grown up here and everything like that, like it may just be normal. I don't know, but it's exhausting for me, right? So in my previous experiences back in the US, there was always a rule to rely on. There were lines, clear ones. You can't pay someone under the table to do something. I mean, you could, but that's like, you can't pay someone under the table for some basic things like going to get your license from the DMV office, right? It's the DMV office. Pay the fee for your renewal and you walk out with your license, right? So if you said something, someone or people knew what it meant. But here, it's like the wild, wild west mentality where everything is negotiable. Like people are constantly testing the boundaries legally, illegally, and it wears you down, not just in business, but it's also personal too. And in my complaint or rant about this, it's not that I don't have an understanding of why, right? Because there's just not, your government's not even following rules. Like your government here is violating your human rights, and you may not even know you have human rights, right? Anyways, I digress. But I understand where it comes from, but like being direct and honest is part of my nature. When you work in an environment where words are constantly pushed, questioned, or misunderstood, it's mentally draining. So then you end up in this pattern, like myself, where you're constantly like kind of retraining your brain to maybe not show your cards, for lack of a better term, not show your cards when you're speaking to someone, because you know that the push is going to come anyway. So stay forward on this thing, and then when the push comes, like it'll at least push in the direction that you were comfortable with the whole time, right? And it's mentally draining because again, it's not how I naturally think. You can tell me, or you can ask me, hey, can I have your apple? And I'll tell you, the apple wasn't even a good example because I'm allergic to apples. Jeez. Okay, give me a second. Let me think. Okay, so you tell me, can I borrow your blue t-shirt? And I say yes, but what date do you want to borrow the shirt? Thursday. It's Tuesday, right? You'll say Thursday. And I'll say, okay, you can't borrow it on Tuesday because I'll be wearing it. So maybe Thursday morning you come pick it up because Wednesday I'll wash it and so it'll dry for you, right? Now imagine you're asking me for the shirt, right? And you're saying, why can't I just have it now, like on Tuesday? Like just give it to me now, right? I'm like, I just told you I'm wearing it Tuesday, like why can't you get it Thursday morning? Because I'm going to wear it. I'll wash it for you even. And the Thursday you can come pick it up. Then your response is, do you even really need the blue shirt? You just give it to me, right? Like I can just have it. Like what's the point of you having, because after all, you have so many other shirts. Bro, maybe this is a bad example, but I feel like this is pretty good because I've told you, I've made a plan with you, or I've shown you this is my shirt to begin with. This is my shit, right? And you've told me like just give it to you now, or even better, just let you have it, right? And for people here, like whatever, like I'll just still tell the person that's fine, right? But what's made me exhausted, or what has made it challenging for me to like kind of wrap my head around, is like me saying no here is not enough for people, or for the people I've come across, right? It's not enough. there's this negotiation, there's this dance that sort of has to happen, and you have to be a bit charming with it. You can't just say, no, you can't have my blue shirt. It's like, like I've already said I'll wash it. You can come pick it up Thursday. No frown on your face. Come on, Thursday. Okay. Wednesday night. Maybe it'll be dry by then. I just come in. Like, I. It stresses me out. It stresses me out. I swear it stresses me out um because it's like, why couldn't you hear me the first time? And I've said this so many times, like now, to my partner, to whoever, like, just hear me the first time. I've said what I said. Like, there's no, but it's like, I mean, it's a marketplace essentially. Like, you go to the market here, you ask for, the other day I went to buy plantain, right? He told me a bunch was like, okay, I know it's not 5K. So you do the dance of like, price it. So we ended up paying like K for like 2 bunches, right? And it's normal market behavior, but damn, I miss prices. I miss things just being clearly stated out and laid before you, and you don't have to talk, right? And I thought I was doing myself a service and others a service by just saying, oh, this thing works for me, this doesn't work for me, and just leaving it at that. Like, I don't want to do the dance, but I'm finding that some people enjoy the dance, actually. And I'm not at the place where I'm like, oh, I just, you just have to meet them halfway. I'm not there yet. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm not there yet. I'm still moving around with like, I said what I said, or here's what I said. Like, and it's both tiring and freeing, because it's like, if there's anything, I've adopted to many things here, right? But the one thing I'm struggling to adopt to here is like this concept of doing the dance in order to protect your boundaries, right? And to me, they're not like hard line boundaries. Like, I don't even know, but whatever it is. But it's like, I don't like feeling like I'm cajoled past what I've said or what it is that works for me, and that is a big thing that I'm navigating, right? So in the midst of all of this, your own personal realizations, your own concerns, your own things that you're working on, right? Or my own concerns, right? I've also been facing some health challenges. I'm really trying to tackle my PCOS head on by like finding treatment plans that work for me, working out more, working out in a way that doesn't completely tire out my body. And let me tell you, I stepped on the scale this week. Or no, not this week, geez, a few weeks ago, honestly, right as I had dropped my last episode, and it hit me harder than I thought it would, or that it just hit me hard that I'm at the heaviest I've ever been in my life, or I was at the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. Again, it's been like 4 weeks or so since I dropped the last episode, and so I've lost a few kgs. I think maybe like 5 kg at this point, and that's a lot. That is a lot in like 4 or 5 weeks, but in pounds, I think that's like 12 pounds, 13 pounds. And I've fluctuated within that. Like, it's not been a steady increase or decrease. So, but yeah, when I first saw the scale, it was really a tough pill to swallow, not just about my weight, but it also touched on how I've been so focused on surviving that I've neglected taking care of myself the way I should. I was thinking that by going to the gym, only, and, subconsciously not paying as much attention to what I was eating. I was angry at myself, not just for where I was physically, but for being the version of myself, but for not being the version of myself that I think or feel I should be. That version of yourself on paper that has everything together in every aspect of life, and especially as it relates to your look. And I've been mad at myself for not being her, and it's a weird feeling. Of course, this is like weeks later, and I don't feel as mad at myself, but it's a weird feeling. Like, I'm finding pride in, taking care of myself, but also like recognizing that moment of stepping on the scale, like, it was just, it really showed me what I needed to do, or like, it really was a wake up call. It didn't show me what I needed to do at all, because the numbers don't come up and then you get a meal plan. No, like, I had to cut some things out, figure out what works for me, and reconsider like PCOS overall. faith in yourself, and especially like in God, isn't about knowing how things will turn out. It's like I didn't start this health journey knowing where I'd go, where I'd be, but I just, I'm 4 weeks. No, I think more than 4 weeks in now. More than 4 weeks in now, and I'm having dropped so many pounds, and I'm proud of myself, and I'm looking for the path ahead. But yeah, I don't know how things will turn out, but I really need to enjoy the journey. And as I say enjoy, I kind of cringe because I'm like, I don't know her. I do know her, but I don't know her in this season, like enjoyment, right? So I'm just trusting God. I'm learning to trust God with every area of my life, my health, my work, my relationships, and I'm trying to figure out how to integrate everything, even when it feels like it's all happening at once. I'm just overall super grateful for where I am, but I think the hardest part is like when you've had a moment yourself, realizing that you don't really know what rest is. I've been so busy surviving, fighting for boundaries, figuring out my health, handling work stress, and dealing with rejection, that I've forgotten how to rest. But yeah, in my Bible study, we talked about Hebrews 4:10. Hebrews chapter 4 verses 10-13, and it's about faith and how it's the key to accessing the rest God promises us, because it's not a rest that you chase, but it's the one that's been promised to you already, and you just have to accept that promise. But true rest isn't just about taking naps for me or going to bed early, which I thought it was. I thought it was getting to bed on time fairly. It's about surrendering control as well. I was talking earlier about boundaries and having to defend it, but it's like, I don't have to do the dance. If I don't want to do the dance, I can say no. And just let my no be the no, or I could do the dance. But ultimately, I think I'm finding frustration because I'm trying to control the outcome. I'm trying to control how the responses here make me feel, and I just can't. I can only, as cliche as it feels to say, be myself in situations, and if it doesn't work for the person or for the thing, the project, whatever it is, it doesn't work. We just need to trust that God's in control, even when it just feels like life itself is spiraling. And right now I'm learning how to rest in that truth, like to take a step back, trust the process, and know that I don't have to do it all on my own. I can face rejection. I can question things that are in front of me. I can, expect people to say yes, no, etc., or just not reply at all. But ultimately, God's got my back. My friend has my back. I have a community of people who are amazing. And as I'm finding rest, I'll be okay. And hopefully you will be too. So yeah, so if you're listening this far and you're in a season of struggle, survival, or just literally plain confusion, you are not alone. We're all figuring it out. And if you've been struggling to set boundaries, to trust the process, or to just rest, I really encourage you to take a moment today to check in with yourself. You don't have to have all the answers, but you do have the power to choose yourself, and to also trust God with your life, and also trust that God's got a plan for you, even when you can't see it, or when he's giving you a glimpse and like you're trying to wait for it, or you don't really see like your life circumstances aligning with that. But yeah, if this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend, leave a review, let me know your thoughts on today's topic. I'd love to hear how you're finding your own rest in the chaos, how you're responding to the chaos. But yeah, until next time, take care of yourself, set your boundaries, and remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Thanks, guys.